Yes, people, welcome back to a new video. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, because Alejandro Garnacho, you are on your way out of Manchester United. But the destination, where? I've got two clubs that I think he can go to that are realistic in his arms of the Premier League, which is what he wants. And we're going to talk about it. Because, guys, Ruben Amorim has come out and said that Garnacho will leave the football club. It has not worked out. It's been clear. It got revealed in May at the end of the season that he said Garnacho can leave the club. And he's still here. And we're talking the 3rd of August. And the league starts in about 2 weeks' time. However, he is not part of pre-season. He is not part of the camp. And it is clear his future does not lie at Old Trafford any longer. So what happens next for the 20-year-old? Because at the end of the day, people, as we now know, the truth is, and 21 years of age, should I just say, is that he will now be leaving the club because Ruben Amorim has come out and said, look, he is a talented footballer. He is someone that can play at the highest level. However, for some reason, sometimes it just don't work out at certain clubs. And that's fine. That is okay, people. It happens. Football is, you're not meant to be loved by everyone. It's not going to work out at every club. People are good at their jobs and everyday work. But it doesn't mean you stay at that place for the longest time. You might be there for a short time and it's a good time or a bad time and you move on until you find that right place, that right home where you can stay for a few years. And that is what Garnacho is now probably looking for at 21 years of age, coming up to a World Cup year. He wants to be playing football. He wants to be enjoying himself. He wants to be happy. And the journey for Manchester United is over. And as a fan, I'm kind of glad. I've been tired of the whole thing. And look, I'm not coming on here to bash Garnacho, by the way. I'm not doing that. But one thing I will say, and I think if you guys have watched my videos over the time when it was Trafford Tunnel or, Never a Foul, you see me on Saeed Rants and other podcasts, I said since day that when Garnacho broke through, he is not the guy. I didn't think he was as good as what people were making him out to be. He was getting offered the number 7 shirt by fans saying he should have that shirt. Give him the number. I was like, no, what? Like, we're being irrational here. We're thinking emotionally. A few good performances. I think he played a lot under Ten Hag. I think over 50 starts in a row. But there's something about Garnacho that, when you watch a player, naturally, you're like, yeah. And I've never got that with him. I've always felt Garnacho, for me personally, has been better off the bench. I think when he comes on and makes an impact in the last 20, 30 minutes, he can impact games. He can, change games in your favor. He's quite direct. He tries to run in behind. Yes, his decision-making ain't great, but he's got that energy. He's got that zest about him. He wants to be involved. He's got that South American demeanor where he's like, I back my ability. I'm confident. And I like that. I'm never going to take that away from him. I think that's something that you want to have in a player. You want them to be, backing themselves. You want them to be confident. But sometimes I just don't think his ability's backed it up. And I think when he's been a starter for Manchester United, I don't think that he impacts games enough. I think when he plays against defenders that are strong and quick, he struggles to get past them. He can't beat a man 1-for-1. He's not the quickest either, down the touchline. I think his finishing isn't great, his decision-making. But, he has the energy. He has that infectious ability that some fans will really take to. And you know what? In a bad time for Manchester United, he's tried to stand up and be counted. He's tried to put in 100% to make a difference. But sometimes the ability can only take you so far. And I think now with Man United playing a new formation, you've seen Cunha come in, you've got Mbumo, you've got Ahmad. You'll have other players coming in the future, maybe some players through the academy. I think it's right now that Man United can sell a player, get basically all profit for him because he's come through our ranks from Atletico Madrid when he comes as a youngster. And we can reinvest that. We can rebuild. And also, let's be real. Man United fans, we need to get back to winning football matches. We need to get back to winning games. So here we are. He is going to be leaving the club. Amorim has confirmed it. So where next? So, Garnacho. Premier League is where he wants to remain. He's made that clear. He has made that clear from the start. And he wants to be in a team that's potentially challenging for trophies, challenging for Europe, being in a Champions League. He wants to try and showcase himself at the highest level. And I think a fee of around 40 million to 50 million would be fair because, one, he wants to leave the club. The two, the club don't want him. And yeah, we need to kind of just get rid of him being around. So the first team I'm going to talk about, which I think Garnacho could go to, is Aston Villa. I think Garnacho could really look at Aston Villa as an option. The first reason it makes me think of Aston Villa is when you look at their squad right now, in the attacking phase, you've got Watkins, who's the striker, right? John Duran's already gone. when you look at the attacking phase at the moment, you've got Leon Bailey, right? You've got Morgan Rogers, you've got Jacob Ramsey, John McGinn that can play in advanced positions. I'm looking at it already and I'm starting to question, the pace of Aston Villa, the directness of a natural winger. Because Leon he's not the same player no more. Injuries got him. Jacob Ramsey, I look at him as more maybe in a three-man midfield in future. I don't look at him as a touchline winger. Morgan Rogers, I look at him more as a 10, more as a central player, not out wide. He can play out on the left and drift in, but I don't look at his frame and think he's the most effective there. I think he's better being in central positions, ball carrying ability, strong, physical. And look, they went and got Marcus Rashford on loan last year for the last 6 months of the season. And yes, he plays sometimes instead of Watkins up top, but he could also play out on the left when Watkins played up top. And when you look at Rashford, in terms of the profile of running in behind, the pace, the 1v1 ability, Villa kind of needed that because they didn't have that sort of profile in their team. And when I look at it now, Rashford's not there this season. So with Morgan Rogers, Ramsey, Leon Bailey, I think they need something different. I think they need a bit of an edge. And they've been very quiet in the market, by the way. That's one thing about Aston Villa I will say, is that I think there may be one club off the top of my head that haven't bought someone in this season, over the summer so far. And that might be because of financial regulations. They spent quite heavily when they got into the Champions League. And they might need to get rid of some players. I don't know the situation. However, Aston Villa have not spent any money and the squad needs a couple of additions, a couple of fresh faces. And I think with someone like Unai Emery as a coach that is a tough coach in his regime, his principles, his passion, heart on the sleeves, individual direction, and, always shouting on the pitch, always bellowing instructions. I think someone like Garnacho could probably work well under him because I think he'll give him that attentiveness, that care that Garnacho maybe needs. He's not the full article. He's not the full package. He's still learning the game at 21. But I think if you have a coach like Unai Emery, I think Unai Emery will always try and get the best out of a player and work with them individually as well. You see it, always on a touchline, clapping, always motivating. And I think if he gets an attacker in like Garnacho, he'll believe that, right, I've got a 21-year-old here with a young Morgan Rogers. Them two could be the future bearers of the club, and then they get a striker in future to replace Watkins. They get another right winger in, and they start moving forward. And I just think it could be a very shrewd move for Aston Villa, especially because they're a team as well that they break quite a lot in transition. They can obviously have the ball and score good team goals, but I also think when you look at Watkins and Morgan Rogers, a lot of their goals can come from winning the ball back with Onana, Telemans and stuff like that, and playing quick passes and running through the middle and breaking on teams 3v3, 4v3, cutbacks, this and that. And I think in terms of transitional play, Garnacho is great for that. Because one thing about Garnacho that I think has improved over the last 12 months even is that he does work harder in terms of his defensive regime and understanding his role, because he was a main starter for Manchester United, especially under Erik ten Hag before Amorim come in. And I do think that with the price of 40 million, his age, what Aston Villa require right now, I think this is a move that they should be looking at. I really do. I think it's a move that, I don't see it being a negative. Obviously, they've got Donyell Malen as well. Forgot to mention, of course, by the way, Donyell Malen, and he's going to be having like his first full season, because you've got to remember he's coming from Dortmund in January, so he's got a full preseason under him. So you've got Malen, who's a very pacey player as well, attacking, but he can more play from the right-hand side as well and up top, when Watkins isn't playing. So I think Garnacho gives them a bit more variety to their attack. And I think this is a move that could really suit what they're trying to do in terms of getting back into Europe in the top 4, top 6, remaining in there. And Unai Emery keeping his job and progressing, because Aston Villa don't want to be regressing. So I think someone like Aston Villa could be the right move for Garnacho. I don't know if it will be a move that does happen, but if there are 2 Premier League clubs I'm looking at, the first one would have to be Aston Villa. And then the second team is the team they're linked with, people. It's Chelsea Football Club. Chelsea Football Club, linked heavily with him, by the way, but their squad is a bit more assured, should I say, a bit more accomplished. There's going to be more challenging time for him in terms of getting starts, because you look at Chelsea and obviously they've spent a lot of money. We've got to talk about the players that are here right now. João Felix has left, but you've got Pedro Neto can play on the wing. You've got Jamie Gittins. You've got João Pedro. You've got Estavio. You've got Nkunku, who's still there. I don't know what's happening with Mudryk at the moment, but you've got a bit more zip about them in terms of natural wingers, especially with Gittins, Pedro Neto, and Estavio. So you've got to think there's going to be 4 wingers, including Alejandro Garnacho, that are going to be fighting for them positions. But also, Gittins is young, unproven in the Premier League. Estavio, young, again, unproven in the Premier League. Pedro Neto can play left and can play right. Nkunku, probably going to leave the club by the end of the window, potentially. So there is room for Garnacho to go into there. At 21 years of age, they're building a young squad. Maresca's trying to build that type of team that they're challenging for things, but also they're all growing together and becoming better and better each year. On top of challenging, it's not a team that's regressing in age. So the more they challenge and the more they get better, the more these players are getting experience and they're developing. And it's kind of like trophies here, players here, development, and they come aligned. And they've already seen they're aligned here because they've won the Club World Cup. And despite what people think about it, you've got to respect it. They've gone there and they're beating PSG in the final, a very good side, if not the best team in the world. And I remember watching half of that game and Chelsea were dominating them. You know, in that first 30 minutes, I thought, wow, this is against a team that normally dominate the ball. Chelsea are doing that to them. So when you look at it in terms of Garnacho, he will add a bit of creativity, he will add that energy, add that, you know, that Premier League experience. But it's like fine-tuning him. Can he make the right decisions in the final third to set up a João Pedro, Liam Delap, Nicholas Jackson, whoever will be the striker? Can he link up well with Cole Palmer? Will he be able to accept that he might not start every game, but he's got the Champions League to play and there's 2 games a week? He will get opportunities and also battle and fight for his place because nothing can be handed to you. Garnacho, you're going to have to fight for your place. You can't just expect and have your brother, for example, or people around you getting in your ear, posting stuff online. It's not going to help your image. It's not going to help your profile. And that's probably why at the moment we got into August and he's still at Manchester United because teams maybe might be unsure. You know, you don't know. I don't know. But I'm trying to weigh up the situation here. Talented 21-year-old that's still at Manchester United when really for 40 million in today's market, that's a very good market opportunity because that's potentially a player that you can make better, who could actually get better, start scoring, creating and winning trophies. And if you sell him, you're going to get more money in the future. So it's kind of a win-win because if you sell him in future again, it doesn't work out. You might get 25 million, but it's not really much of a hit. His wages are not extensively high. So I think this is an opportunity for Chelsea that I can see them looking at it as like, right, well, for example, we signed Noni Madueke. He was okay, but we sold him to Arsenal for 50 million. It's not like he's done amazing things at Chelsea, but Arsenal went and paid the money and they still made a profit on him. You know, they could do the same with Garnacho, sign him for 40 and still sell him for the same price or a bit more to an Atletico Madrid or a Timo in Italy or whatever it may be. But when I look at it, Garnacho predominantly plays off the left. So he's going to be battling with more Jamie Gittins and Pedro Neto, who might end up playing on the right wing. But with Gittins, like I said to you, it might take him a little bit of time to adapt. You can't put pressure on a young man's shoulders like that, even though he's come through the Manchester City Academy before going Dortmund. But Chelsea are not expecting him to hit 10, 15 goals and hit the ground running straight away. You need competition for places. You need depth. And we already know with Maresca, he likes working with a young squad. That is clear. He doesn't really buy older, experienced players. He wants to work with a young squad that are all buying into the shape, the harmony of the team, and progressing it. And Garnacho seems like he's made it quite clear in himself that Chelsea would probably be his preferred destination, which is why I spoke about them a second. I think this is a team that Garnacho actually wants to go to. I think he's seen what the culture is, what they're building, and the age and the profile of the team. I'm thinking, yeah, I want some of that. And don't even forget, which is kind of important. Yes, Lisandro Martinez is at Man United, but forget that right now. You've got Enzo Fernandez, who's still quite young, and he's a key player for the Argentinian team. And he's there. And he's one of the mainstays in that Chelsea squad. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. Whether he starts in the advanced 10 roles of Cole Palmer, or whether he starts in the 2 in midfield, or he's on the bench sometimes. Enzo Fernandez starts. He plays games. Maresca likes him. Enzo Fernandez likes Chelsea. He's getting better for them. So you'll have someone who you can relate to and talk to and help you sit and adjust to London life. I see why Chelsea are going for potentially this option. There are other options out there for Chelsea, like a Rafael Leao, for example, like a Rodrigo, and they could go out and make a bit more of a statement signing because I think Leao's a good player ready for the Premier League. I think Arsenal should look at him. And Rodrigo, well, we know that he's potentially available from Real Madrid, and that would be Chelsea mean business. But have they got the money to go and spend 90 million on a Rodrigo? That's what I mean. Garnacho's half price, Premier League experience, doesn't have the full quality that Rodrigo has, but he has that Premier League experience. So, you've got to weigh it up. I think he makes the move to Chelsea. I think this is the one that's getting more talks at the moment. People are thinking about it more in terms of it, you know, it materializing into something. It's whether Chelsea are going to pay up the money. But I understand why Chelsea are going for this profile and looking at Garnacho and maybe what they can do with him. And if not the money, they can get back and sell him on, because Chelsea are a great selling club. Them in Liverpool, I respect it. So yes, guys, let's see what happens with Garnacho. Not part of the Manchester United squad for pre-season. He wants out. Amrin wants him out. So let's see. But they are the two clubs I would look at. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Make sure you smash a like. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. And let's see what happens with Alejandro Garnacho. Big up.